Our first speaker is Morgan. Morgan is a sophomore from the Midwest majoring English while also pursuing the pre-med track. During high school, she struggled with mild anxiety. However, she was forced to face it head-on during her sophomore year after suffering a little bit more than the sophomore slump. In her free times, she likes going to yoga, running, and getting coffee with her friends. So without further ado, here's Morgan, our first speaker.
Hi, everyone. It's a little ironic, the person with anxiety is going first, but it's okay. Anxiety got me to Boston College. My fear of not being the best in sports made me push myself till I was the captain or the MVP. My lack of trust in others made me do all of the work in group projects and made me the leader of organizations. My obsession with grades made me graduate knowing my GPA down to the 100th decimal place. Externally, everyone had always seen the gifts my anxiety had given me. So I continued my habits. No one pushed me to change besides the occasional "you should take a chill pill." I was forced to change last fall when I faced something a little more than the sophomore slump. An intense bout of anxiety led me into a depression. I view the brain's thinking as a conveyor belt. When a normal person's brain has a foreign object or an irrational thought come in, it can be discarded and the brain can continue thinking as if nothing happened. However, when an irrational thought comes into my brain, it can't discard it. It holds on to it for months at a time. It wants to know why it's there, what it means, and what it's doing. My conveyor belt was stuck for too long, and overall, my system crashed and led me into a depression. It all started when I thought of a friend from high school who committed suicide. My brain got hooked. The following questions circled and suffocated me every second of every day for months. Why did I think that? What if I did that? Why did Kaya do that? Maybe Kaya was right. My anxiety had turned on me and convinced me into thinking that I was a suicidal student. Stop. Let me clarify that I was not suicidal. See, this is what anxiety does. It makes you think things that aren't what you actually are thinking. It created that I couldn't open a package from my mom because I might cut myself with a knife. It created that I couldn't go near windows because I might jump out of it. It created that I couldn't go near the T because I might jump in front of it. This pseudo-suicidal thinking forced me into taking a chill pill, or as the medical world calls it, Zoloft. I could go on and tell you about how shitty it was, how I cried every day for months, how I almost left school altogether because of it, or how I went to therapy twice a week and during my bad weeks still do. But instead, I would like to now focus on how I found light during my recent depression. Last year I cracked, but today I choose to see the light shining through. I love volunteering. It just makes me feel so good. That's the story my BC peers had told me, but I can't say I felt the same. Some people told me that I would appreciate my life more, and it would maybe help me out of my depression. Serving the homeless women of Rosie's Place made me feel awful, but not in the way you would expect. I didn't feel bad for them. I was envious of them. Many of these women have horrific pasts, awful living conditions, and no support, yet somehow they were happier than I was. I was dragging my feet around the shelter, and they were dancing. My job at the shelter was to lead programs that would help the women feel empowered. We would share highs and lows at the start of each get-together. And one day, I shared that I was struggling and had just started medication. The women were on the same meds as me and had the same diagnosis as I did. I hadn't found anyone to relate to me besides the homeless women. I wanted to know how they found light in their situations. And I was met with, I may be homeless, but I'm not hopeless. Suddenly, the group I was supposed to be helping was helping me. According to mentalhealth.gov, 1 in 5 adults have a mental health issue. There is no small print under that statistic that says you have to be homeless or a stressed college student to be mentally ill. It can happen to all of us. Oddly enough, I was able to bond with the homeless women of Rosie's Place before BC students over my mental illness. I didn't identify with the BC community. Everyone was so happy, so together, so not me, even though more than 1,800 students utilize BC counseling services each year. I had previously set myself up for success, being on the executive board of a women's empowerment group as a sophomore, but I could no longer pull my weight. I told the president of the club that I was sorry, and I blanketed my depression with personal issues. I told the president, I told her that I had been in the midst of a depression, and her response was, "What is your campus address?" I promptly told her not to report me to university counseling. I had already turned myself in. Later that week, I got a book in the mail. She had sent me a book that got her through her own struggles with anxiety. Here's Allie. I was able to find common ground with people that I had never even thought were like me. She even said that she would meet with me every day for the rest of the semester if it meant me getting through the school year. Mental illness allows me to connect with people that I would never imagine encountering, including a community of yogis. Harvard Health Publications released an article titled "Yoga for Anxiety and Depression," in which a German study was noted where 24 women who described themselves as emotionally distressed took 2 90-minute yoga classes per week for 3 months. Women in the control group were asked to maintain their normal activities and not start any stress reduction programs during the study period. Though not formally diagnosed with depression, all participants had experienced emotional distress for at least half of the previous 90 days. They were also 1 standard deviation above the population norm in scores of perceived stress, anxiety, and depression. At the end of the 3 months, the women in the yoga group reported improvements in perceived stress, depression, and anxiety. Depression scores improved by 50%, anxiety scores improved by 30%, and overall well-being scores improved by 65%. I read this article last year, and the next day, I got an unlimited monthly yoga membership. I started attending yoga classes as if they were important as my college courses. Every day, I would go hoping to feel a little better. Mind you, I'm not flexible, I can't do all the poses, and I slip on my mat. But the good news was I couldn't think about anything besides the poses. Yoga distracted my brain from the dark thoughts. My sleep improved, my poses didn't, but that was okay. And it gave me something to look forward to. I looked forward to being on my mat and having some control for an hour of each day. Suddenly, that 1 hour turned into an hour after class, and eventually it turned into another hour of control before class. I was doing that thing that yogis always talk about, and I roll my eyes, but I was silencing my mind. Depression doesn't let you do things in the first place, let alone things you hated all along. I was an econ major with no desire to know anything about the stock market. Thinking about my future as an econ major made me cringe. Something needed to change. I realized I was academically setting myself up to be on a career path that would make me even more prone to another depression. So I thought about what I love to do. Talk about mental illness, practice yoga, and find links between the two. I was interested about what was going on medically within me and within my new friends who I cared about. I had also been through a handful of therapists and psychiatrists that didn't seem to help. This is when I decided to try and hopefully become the doctor that I needed when I was at my worst. With anxiety, tests are not my strong suit. However, writing is. The sophomore dean and I sat down and formulated what has become the perfect combination. I changed my major to English and started chipping away at the pre-med requirements. This change of major and career trajectory allowed me to find joy and balance rather than the dread I had been feeling with econ. It sucks that I had to be depressed in order for this change to happen, but at the same time, I'm grateful that going through a depression made me make some serious changes for the better. New friends, new major, and a new hobby that I loved. A year of dark thoughts led to bright outcomes. Now, I'm not saying that I'm totally better and only see sunshine and rainbows. I'd be lying if I did. I went to therapy on Friday, had a meltdown last night about an organic chemistry exam tomorrow, and I took Ativan before this talk to calm me down. But what I am trying to say is that even in a dark period, light will come again. Once you hit rock bottom, the only place you can go is up. I know another dark spell will come, and someone will have to remind me to find the light. But for now, I'm here to do that for all of you. If you're going through this now, or someday do, I'd like to remind you to look for the light even when you don't think it exists. Thank you.